Hi everyone, I'm Liv from Work It Health. Work It Health is a digital addiction treatment provider. We're joined today for our Mocktail mixer by Laura Silverman of Zero Proof Nation and Chris Marshall of Sam's Bar. And I just thought you could introduce yourselves as you, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Laura, you go first.
Thank you, Liv, and hello everyone. It's great to be here tonight. My name is Laura Silverman. I should say that yesterday I celebrated 14 years of being a booze-free babe. Woo! I got sober on July 14th, 2007 at age 24. And it's been pretty great, but there have definitely been ups and downs since. And in my sobriety and in my search for non-alcoholic options that I can have while socializing, I've really gotten into it. And after having met Chris, and I'm the founder of a few different things: Zero Proof Nation, Booze Free in DC. I'm in the Washington DC area, and the OG alt recovery blog, the Sobriety Collective. So that's just a little bit about me.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, my name is Chris Marshall. I'm the owner and founder of Sam's Bar, an alcohol-free space based here in Austin, Texas. I'm also the founder of Sam's Bar Academy, which is a school for people who want to learn how to open up their own alcohol-free business. Other than that, I've also been sober for 14 years and some change. And yeah, I'm super happy to be here.
Thank you. I didn't know about the Academy. That's awesome. Can you drop a link in the chat so that, and Laura, you drop a link to your contact details too on your website so that folks can access that.
Yeah.
We've also got a link to the cocktails that you're going to be showing us today. So I'll drop that into the chat. And then I thought that what we could do is we could talk a little bit about, while you're doing your cocktails, you could tell us a little bit about why you decided to start your organizations. Because I think they're really interesting stories, and you both have so much that you bring to this community that I think everyone should see it. Laura, are you typing? Oh, you've done it. You've done it. Okay.
I'm a master typist. You have to do the HTTP in Zoom, otherwise it won't hyperlink. But I didn't know how to press enter on Zoom without it going right into the chat. So that's something that I don't know.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I'm going to post a link to the blog with the recipes, and I'll turn things over to you to show us your amazing mocktail. I think you should also show us your selection of alcohol-free drinks, because I think that's pretty impressive.
Oh, who, me?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you feel comfortable.
Sure. Well, welcome everyone to my studio apartment. Like I said, I'm in the Washington DC area. Chris probably has a similar situation, but this is what's happening here. A lot of empty bottles have been turned into my Zero Proof flower cart. And yeah, this is all non-alcoholic, so you can have a lot of fun without booze. And that's what we're here to show you. Oh, sorry. So did you want me to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, but it's really impressive. I just need to know that.
Yeah, well, and Chris can definitely hop in and comment on this, but we've seen a massive explosion really in the past 3 years in this industry, and it's continuing to grow, and it's just a really exciting place to be in. So this is the place to be.
Do you get things sent to you?
Yeah, a fair amount. So I do stimulate the economy, and I buy, but what I don't buy, I get sent to me. So probably a combo for you, Chris. You too?
Oh yeah. I get a fair amount of things that are new and coming out, and then I also just love a lot of stuff. And so
gotta support local and small businesses, but
that's really amazing. Okay, so while you're making your cocktail, tell us your mocktail. Do you call them cocktails or mocktails? How do you refer to them?
Zero Proof cocktails. I know that Mocktail mixer has an alliterative sort of vibe to it, but I don't like the word mocktail.
It is a little dated, isn't it?
It's kind of kiddie table-ish, but you know, I understand that it's part of the vernacular for a lot of people, and I'm not totally hating on it. I just don't use it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, you want me to multitask and tell people about the drink as well as sort of like why I started this. Oh boy, I should have practiced. Well, first of all, to everyone who's watching, we're going to be making what is called the say ah, not like going to the doctor, say ah, but like going to a spa. And it's going to be a very sort of cooling, calming beverage that you can have on a hot day or whenever you want. So these are some of the core ingredients. We have watermelon, cucumber dry soda, which is my favorite. It's dry botanical bubbly, and that is my favorite flavor. And mint, fresh. Sorry about that. Fresh mint. That's one of the heroes here. And we're also going to use some lime. So you can kind of think of it as an elevated cucumber watermelon mojito, but there are a couple of extra sort of special ingredients here. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to walk you through the drink and tell you about my story. So let me just walk you through the drink first.
Do that. Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds great.
Okay, thank you. So since I'm getting started, a lot of people like celebratory glassware, and I am one of those people. So find a glass that makes you feel fancy, that you enjoy. And so I have that, and I'm going into my freezer to get an important ingredient. Now, I did this in advance, and there's a cheat. And in my recipe, there's a cheat. You don't have to freeze these watermelon cubes in advance, but if you do, I made these watermelon mint coconut water ice cubes, and you blend fresh watermelon, coconut water, and mint, and you just blend it in your blender. Now, if you don't want to do that, or you can't do that and you're running short on time, all you have to do is just muddle some fresh watermelon and mint in a cocktail shaker. And if anyone has, you probably are familiar with a cocktail shaker, but if not, this is what it looks like, and you can just muddle that at the very bottom.
Do you want to tell us what muddle is for people that don't know?
Oh, sure. So it's just the act of kind of, you can have like a muddler, but sometimes I just use, like the bottom of a wooden spoon, like Get Creative, and it's just kind of mashing the ingredients at the bottom of your glass to release the aromas and invite the flavors to come out. So you can do that, but I made these cubes, which are really fun and fancy. Okay.
I like that this is educational too.
Awesome. So some of these bottles are twist off, but I think it's always helpful to still have a bottle opener on hand. And here's this handy dandy one.
How can we get one of those? Can we get one of those on your website?
I have to make them, but I would be happy to custom make some for people.
I would buy one.
But I will say that I made these little pins, and I'm happy to raffle or to, like, I don't know, you can handle it, Liv, but I'm happy to raffle off one or two little Zero Proof Nation pins for people. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to pour this dry botanical bubbly cucumber over this watermelon mint ice cube and let that settle for a little bit. And I eyeball things. I don't always use measurements. I would say this is probably about like 3 ounces of cucumber dry. Lime, that's my favorite citrus. And a trick that I learned on a different sort of virtual mixology course is I used to roll my citrus on a cutting board or something, but if you squeeze it like a stress ball, then that actually releases all the right things better than I have everything set up except for my citrus squeezer thing. Better than rolling it. So I'm going to cut this in half. And then I'm not sure if all of you know, but I was putting my citrus in the wrong way. I was putting it in like this. No, sorry, I was putting it in like this because it looks like it's, it's got that flatness, but that's not right. You want it to be facing here so that the juice can go right in to the glass, which you can't see. So sorry. Going in there. Okay. All right. We're still going. So let me tell you what's next. I love super, super bubbly water, or I'm really into carbonation. So I pre-carbonated some SodaStream bubbly. Hear that?
There's like a whole matrix, isn't there, of like.
Yeah. So I'm just going to top that a little bit more. And there's no rhyme or reason. Just have fun with the ingredients. That's all I ask of you. Now, let me get my kitchen towel and show you what's next. The beauty of a laptop is that I can take you on a field trip. So here's what's next. You can see an assortment of gins. Now, these are all 0 proof. They're all non-alcoholic. And you can have, there's Liars Dry London Spirit. I just got this. It's a Canadian brand, and it feels a lot like Seedlip. It's a distilled botanical, and it doesn't have like that bite to it, but it's a really sort of gentle, herbaceous gin alternative. Ritual 0 proof is one of my favorites, but I'll tell you what my absolute favorite gin alternative is, and that's Monday. And again, these do not have alcohol in them. And the reason why I chose gin is because cucumber and juniper go really nicely together. And so what we're going to do, I think I'm just going to use 1 ounce. So if you have one of these, this is 1 ounce, this is 2 ounces. So I'm just going to go 1 ounce here. And what this is going to do is just give it a nice bite and some more herbaceousness. And last but not least, a trick that I learned from my dear friend Chris Marshall with herbs that you're going to use, whether it's mint or rosemary or sage, thyme, whatever. You want to spank the herbs, which is essentially tapping it on the back of your hand to release the aromas, and then pop that in. I didn't even stir it. I just have a glass stirrer, so I'm going to stir it now. I'm not fancy, you guys, but this looks pretty fancy.
That looks delicious. Tell us how it tastes.
Oh my God, that's so good. I'm not even lying. That's really, really good.
I'm going to make it this weekend.
So that is the say ah. And again, remember, if you don't have all of the ingredients, that's okay. You can use watermelon juice. You can buy diced watermelon already. Like, you don't have to get this. I just thought it would look nice on camera.
How much of that watermelon did you put into the ice cube?
Oh, so I bought 2 of these halves, and I used a whole half watermelon in the blender. But these are really large ice cubes, and they're great for the bar because you can just, Chris can probably tell you, like with the large sort of hero ice cubes, you can use just 1 in a glass. And anyway, and these freeze really well. And I did have some leftover that's just like in a plastic bag. So that is the say ah, and it's great for the summer. And just,
that looks delicious. Thank you.
Fine,
and
yeah.
do you know how long you could keep that in the freezer for?
I am no food service expert, but I'm probably gonna say, like, if you just consume it within the week.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably
like maybe a week and a half.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Not like a month, you know. Yeah, just I would say like within a week and a half that you should be fine.
Yeah.
That's my drink.
Thank you so much. And are you okay to tell us a little bit more about Zero Proof Nation? And
I would love to, although yeah, sure. So I can go. I can also, cede to Chris, who can make his drink, and then we can talk a little bit about our things if that's
sure. Do you want to do that, Chris?
I'm kind of curious to see what Chris has planned.
I am very excited. Okay, so Chris says that watermelon doesn't hold well
but in the freezer, if you freeze it in the ice cube trays, it should last a couple weeks. But you'll want to have it so often that it won't last that long.
And just before we pass over to Chris, Sally asked, what was the first gin?
Liars. This is an Australian.
Oh, I bought that. It's delicious. Yeah,
it's really good. And this is another brand. Chris, you do your Ritual Wednesdays still, or not anymore? Or still
not going? Anymore, but yeah, we were doing that for a while. That's a great Great brand, love it.
But this is my favorite. And
I linked to that in the blog.
awesome. Okay.
Callie asked, what do the replacement gins taste like?
That's a good question. So again, this is up to everyone's personal preference, and for what it's worth, it took me about 12 years of sobriety to kind of build up a palate and taste for like non-alcoholic beer, non-alcoholic wine, and spirits, which is kind of like around the same time that the industry just boomed. So it worked out well. But they can range from having just kind of like an herbaceous water sort of feel to it, which is kind of how I think of Seedlip. It's a very herbaceous water, and it's delicious, but it doesn't have a bite to it. I would say that something like this or this, it doesn't have a burn. Just to be clear, it doesn't have a burn, but it has more of like a bite to it. So it's got that juniper. It's got, where did my Monday go? This is it's got some coriander. So it's a little spicy.
Yeah.
And it's very herbaceous, and it adds body.
Yeah.
That's a lot of body to the drink. So it feels very grown up, but I don't feel a burn down my throat that's triggering in any way, but I do sort of feel like the warmth that it provides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it tastes like gin, right? Without the burn.
I never had gin when I was not a fancy drinker. I drank Aristocrat vodka and Natty Light and a lot of wine. I was not a good, I feel fortunate I got sober so young, but I drink much fancier stuff as a non-alcoholic imbiber now. So
that makes sense. Chris, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I just want to I'm in the same boat as Laura. Like, I was not drinking gin and tonics at 23 when I got sober. So the beauty of that experience, for me at least, is that I don't know what I'm supposed to be tasting. I get to experience it kind of for the first time in a lot of ways. So that's what I think is really great about these. I've learned about gins, I've learned about spirits, and learned about the history of spirits, and learned about how certain spirits are supposed to kind of present on the mouth and on the nose. But it's something that I just get to experience for the first time. Like, I literally don't know what I'm supposed to be tasting. So when I like something, it's because I like it, not because it's close to anything that I have any kind of. I
love that perspective.
It's a really interesting perspective, and especially as someone who was trying to come up with this concept and try to make drinks. Like, I was kind of it's like making music if you've never heard a song before. It's like, how do you make it work? And it's just, you just have to approximate, and over trial and error. And in my kitchen, I just kept working at it. So I'm gonna attempt. I'm notoriously distractible, but I'm going to attempt, Liv, just to honor the talking and the drink making. So the drink we're making,
not easy, let me tell you.
It's not, and I'm gonna get distracted.
You're a pro.
Well, I honestly learned from Chris. I've watched him do many, many, many mixology workshops, and he is just an absolute star. And I've learned a lot along the way. So he is a friend, but also a teacher. And I hope I made you proud just now, Chris.
Exceedingly. Look, and I learned something about the ice cubes. I mean, that is just yes to the ice cubes. So there are a lot of great cocktail makers in this world, a lot of just amazing mixologists around the globe. And I am definitely not in that category. I am what I would kind of.
I disagree. I've personally had one of your cocktails.
I mean, I'm not bad. I'm just saying I'm not like that, if it were food, right? I'm not Emeril Lagasse. I'm not James Beard Award winning, restaurateur. I'm more of a Guy Fieri kind of guy. Like, that's just how I think about my drinks, because I believe that everyone deserves to be able to make a drink that's simple, approachable, and feels easy to make. I just feel like I understand the need for like high end, just blow your mind ingredients and mixology and methodology. But at the same time, I don't feel like it should be out of reach for anyone. Oh yeah, rosemary works really, really well. Oh, and rosemary and ginger are two of my favorites in the world. Those flavors are just my friends,
Me
and
too.
I
And
could,
lime, you add lime, ginger, rosemary. And I have to say, my favorite ginger beer or ginger ale is by Q Mixers.
yes.
They make such a good product. Fever Tree is also really good, but Q has my vote. Q for president.
Yeah, Q is great. Reed's does have a very, very spicy, like an incredibly spicy ginger beer, which if you love like melt your face ginger, give it a shot. All right, so let's get into this drink, the Berry Fresh. I'm gonna start, again, I am at home, I'm not at my bar, so I'm gonna use only what I have at home. So that way, again, this feels easy and approachable. So the Berry Fresh, yeah, see what I did there, Laura? Yes. You see what I did there? Okay, cool. So got my tumbler. We're gonna put some ice in there. You can't see this, of course. Let me hold it up. Some ice in there. To that, I'm gonna add a half cup of fresh. Let me show you fresh summer berries. So you got some blueberries, some raspberries, some blackberries, and some strawberries. And just gonna put a couple of those in there, like so, like that, as Tabitha Brown says. Gonna do a ½ ounce of simple syrup. You can also use agave if you have it. And I love agave, has a lower glycemic index, and it's really, really good for like creating body in a drink. I think that's really great. So now I'm going to talk about Sandspar. So Sandspar, see, I didn't forget. I almost.
I'm very impressed.
So much like agave, Sandspar is kind of this thing that has changed the way that people look at not drinking. Agave changes a drink and changes the way it looks. And I believe Sandspar in many ways has changed the scene of non-alcoholic entertainment and enjoyment. When I started Sandspar in 2017, I was a counselor, and I was working with clients over and over, and I'd see the same kind of cycle happening over and over. People would get better, but then they would quickly find that they were not finding any connection with new people. They weren't having any fun experiences, and they would go back to their use. And I just thought that this just wasn't acceptable. I thought we can do much better than this. And so I decided to add a little interesting offering to what we were doing. I decided to add a little tang to the offerings of Sober Fun, much like the tang in a lime. So I'm gonna do a ½ ounce of lime. See, picked it right.
What a beautiful segue.
I have to say, I am impressed right now.
I was trying to figure. Yeah, I got there.
It,
so,
but
That was smooth. That was smooth.
So we got the lime in there. So we got agave, or simple syrup. We got the lime, and we got the summer berries. To that, we're going to add. Laura and I are just linked up because I also am going to do 1 ounce of coconut water in my drink as well. Right in there. Now, Sandspar added a lot of cool, innovative, fun. We started off as a pop-up, and I mean, we were popping up wherever we could find space. I started off in the backyard of a hair salon. Like that's where we were popping up. And at first it was like 10 people would show up. And then, we were doing this monthly, then 20 people would show up. And then in March of 2018, we had 100 people show up to an event. And we were like, we may be on to something here in Austin, Texas. Now, mind you, Austin is a city where people go to party. It's where other cities come to party. Like it is a party city. It has South by Southwest. It has ACL, all these big festivals, conferences. And so for Austin to be what it is, it's rather amazing that we were able to create this little community. And so I happened to find a spot on the east side. And from there, Sandspar, grew from pop-ups to this brick and mortar location. And from there, over the last almost 4 years now, we've decided to shake things up. 2 for 2, 2 for 2, Liv, 2 for 2. All right.
Bravo,
So
bravo.
here's a good shake. Shake it up real nice. And the reason I like this shaker is that I can shake really aggressively, which continues to further muddle the berries in here. We got our glass. Now, I just made this up. I wanted to add some color and some little, you know, something different. So what I decided to do is I decided to use colored sugar. So I literally took some regular granulated sugar and some food coloring, and I mixed red and blue, and I got this beautiful kind of purple salted rim. Gonna add some ice into that glass.
Chris, can you tell us how you sugared the rim? Like, did you put citrus around it or water around it, or how did you do it?
I did citrus. So I did a lime rim, and then I had my salt mixture, and I just gently rolled it in that. And I did it off camera just to save some time. But yeah, that's really easy to do, and you can do that same thing with salt. Citrus just holds better and it's less mess than if I try to do like with simple syrup before, and it's just a sticky mess. Nobody wants that. So got my mixture, put that in there. Okay. Now you could add a 0 proof rum to this, but I'm thinking this is good just the way that it is. And speaking of aggressive bubbles, we're gonna top that with some Topo Chico.
Oh, my favorite.
Give that a nice stir, and I was correct. This beautiful color with this salted rim gives you the berry fresh.
Yum. Now,
Wow.
that's salt. You said salted rim or sugared rim?
That's the sugared rim. So
Okay,
I really took granulated sugar and dropped food coloring in it, mixing it slowly. And so if you're not able to go out and get the color you want, you can create the color. I literally just did, that's why I was a little bit late. I was trying to figure out how can I add some color to this? And it worked.
It's so beautiful.
It worked very well.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. Let's give
That's
it a
gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good. So good. Not super sweet.
Yeah.
You got that lime, right?
My thing with drinks is that you should always be able to have more than one. And when you have something that's super sugary and heavy, it makes it hard to enjoy more than one. So when you're at Sands Bar, I want you to come back for more. So I want you to have a nice, light, slightly sweet something to drink. So, you know, Sands Bar shook things up here in Austin. We took it on the road with Sands Bar National Tour. In the past almost 3 years now, I've been to 23 different cities and Toronto. We've held pop-ups all across the country. You know, I am actually slowly returning back to life here in Austin with Sands Bar. And I have 2 events coming up. One, I'm just gonna be a guest at in Portland, or no, in Seattle.
Oh, tease.
but hold on. The following week on the 31st, I will
July
in July. I will be in Portland hosting an event with Wilderton Free, and this is going to be a rooftop party in downtown Portland.
Is it open to the public?
It is very open to the public.
Could you drop a link?
I can if I can figure out how to do the HTTPS, all that stuff. I will though, and I will get it to you. But yes, it's going to be an incredible night. Live music. Have a DJ Justin Ripper is going to be there. Rooftop party. We're going to have light bites, great drinks, of course. And the next day, the founders of Wilderton, Brad and Seth, are going to take us on a foraging exploration in the woods. Amazing. So it's a 2-day experience for the price of one. And so, yeah, if you're in the Pacific Northwest area, July 31st, you know, come out, hang out, have a few sips in a socially distanced and safe way.
Brilliant. And are you planning to do a tour again?
Yes, absolutely. We are actually working on that right now. In 2020, we're on an 18-city tour. that'll be in Portland. So I'll be in Seattle on the 23rd, I think that is, just as a guest of an event. Actually, one of my students in the Sandbar Academy is launching their own alcohol-free place. And so I'm flying up to Seattle just for the day. But then the 31st, I will be in Portland for this incredible event, the first since coronavirus. That's actually where Portland is, where I ended my tour in 2020. So I'm picking up right where I left off.
Oh, and that's where I last saw you.
That was yes.
It was your birthday, right?
It was, yes. You remember?
I do. We snuck out to go and buy you a cake.
Yes, yes.
Oh, how cute is that?
Yes.
I know, but it was rather disappointing cake. But it was the effort that counted. Yeah.
And I had been on the road for like 4 cities straight. It was beautiful. That was great. I
yeah,
really grateful.
We were really happy to have you. Well, I'm really excited to learn more about the 31st. Laura, do you want to tell us more about Zero Proof Nation and all of the other amazing ventures?
Yeah. Well, I'd also love to tell folks a little bit about Booze Free in DC. And so Chris mentioned he went on a multi-city tour in 2018, and we popped up at I partnered together to pop up in DC a couple of times, actually 3 times, twice in 2018, once in, actually, I don't even remember, I think they were 2019, and one in 2020, January, right before everything shut down. But DC is actually becoming quite a wellspring of wellness and zero proof beverages. And, interestingly, I was actually trying to move to Austin in 2019, which is, of course, where Chris lives. And I had a bunch of other friends there, and I was really trying to make it work, and it didn't work out. And so I said, well, how can I see the place that I've lived in for so long, which was the DC area, from a different perspective, from a different lens? And I said, well, why don't I try to create something that I could have used and could still use? And so I wanted to sort of create a travel guide for people, whether they were locals or visiting the Washington, DC area, from a wellness perspective and from a booze-free, specifically a booze-free perspective. And so that's something that I did. And I launched that right around the time that Zero Proof Nation went live. So Booze Free in DC is more of like the hyper local focus on the booze free culture in DC. And then Zero Proof Nation takes a more like national and international look on the whole scene. And what I've done, which I think is really cool, is like peeling the curtain behind beverages and meeting their founders and asking them, why is it so important to have options for people? And it's really interesting because a lot of beverage founders in this non-alcoholic space actually don't have histories with addiction or substance use or any kind of heavy drinking that became a problem. They just wanted inclusivity, and they wanted an option for people who, a lot of these folks had a lot of hospitality experience and food and beverage experience, and they just wanted to create something that everyone could enjoy. Maybe that was in addition to an alcoholic product they already had or not. But so I alternate featuring folks that are beverage founders, and then I feature folks in the space that are doing really cool things. And it's just a way to continue building the community. But recently I launched a pretty massive website update, which includes a full beverage directory, which is never going to be complete because there's something coming out every day and sometimes multiple things. I put that in the chat earlier, but I'm happy to give it to Liv, and she can send it out to all of the attendees. But
yeah, and I'll add it onto YouTube as well.
If you're looking for like booze-free bars, Sandbar is at the top of the list, but I have a directory of booze-free bars nationally and internationally. If you're looking for a zero proof community, like community specifically around the non-alcoholic scene, I have a directory of that. If you're looking for a bottle shop that specifically caters to non-alcoholic, either in person or online, I have a directory for that. So I want to empower people with resources and knowledge, and just to have fun with this particular industry and space. And to really showcase that it's like really fun to not drink alcohol, and because you get to actually drink so much more and you get to enjoy what you're drinking. You get the taste, you get the ritual, you get the socialization, you don't have the nasty effects to both like your psyche and your body. So I'm just all about this, and I know I couldn't have done any of what I've done without the love and support of Chris. He's been truly amazing. So I just want to give you a heart.
Both of you.
I have a friend who has been showing a lot of these zero proof, like, mocktails that she's made up or found out about. She's been on this health thing, like she's also doing lots of roller skating, and she like has this thing on Facebook where she'll just have like a little thing where she just does a mocktail and she mixes it all up. And she actually doesn't have the tools that she used to have, because we both used to bartend at the same place. And she'll like take a foil, if you don't have like a strainer, she'll take foil on top of the cup, point and poke out like with toothpicks, and it strains perfectly into the drink. So it's like she's just, and she'll sit there and she'll show you, and the end result, you're like, wow, that looks awesome. And she's like, like, and so she just has a good time with it. And the more I think about it, it's like, I kind of always went for the really interesting different tastes, and now you can do it without the after effect, which is awesome. So I was like, I was doing something else, and I thought, oh shoot, I should go to the 7 o'clock thing for me, 7 o'clock. But yeah, so it was like, yay. So I'm glad I showed up, and I tried to copy all the thing, all the what do you call it? The
links in the chat.
Links and stuff.
We'll get those to you, Michelle, later.
Cool. Yeah. I was just like, I want to check it out later too, and I can like really look at it and focus. But it's really fun that you guys are doing this, and thanks so much.
So happy you're here. Could you share, if you think your friend would mind, if we happen to hop onto one of her future Facebook things? I'm curious to...
her name she's so much fun too. She's actually managed restaurants after and everything else. We met when I was living in Pennsylvania, and she was at Penn State and everything. But anyways, we worked at this mountaintop restaurant. It overlooks 25 miles. It was beautiful. But anyways, so maybe her name is Laurie, Laurie. I can actually type it in.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably a good idea to just
I'm like, memory.
type in the chat that way.
And she kind of goes, it's funny, her name's Grasty. She goes by Nasty Grasty. It was just like a joke from way back. And if you were to walk up to her and say, what's up, Nasty? She'd be like, oh, She'd be, you said she's into
roller skating too? That's really fun.
She shows videos of herself roller skating.
Well, I perked up at that because I haven't done
like
it.
She lost 3 inches just, like she's been sober for 7 months and like 7 days, but it might be more days now because that was a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And it's just really neat to watch her progress and how she shares, like, you don't have to drink anymore. You can enjoy this in a different way. And so it's really cool. But yeah, so Laurie Grasty.
I love that you're talking about like this. You mentioned it before, Laura, like this alcohol-free spectrum, of like, we don't, I think that sobriety has become really popular, right? But it's really interesting how there is that spectrum. Yeah. I know you touched on it slightly, but do you want to talk a little bit about more that, Laura?
Yeah. And it's an idea that Chris and I have actually talked about a lot, but we call it the sobriety spectrum. And it can range really from anyone who is a designated driver for the night, who's pregnant, who is abstaining for religious reasons or medical reasons, someone training for a marathon or triathlon, someone who's straight edge, maybe someone who's, who just chooses not to drink for whatever reason, someone in recovery, someone who is doing sober October or dry January. There's like so many different reasons why someone might not be drinking for that night. And it could be that night or the rest of their lives or somewhere in between. And it's just important to have options for people, no matter where they are on their journey. Maybe they want to have a zero proof cocktail and then have a cocktail with alcohol in it. And I'm not there to judge them. I just want to empower them with options so that they can have something healthier, and that so that they can know, if you plant the seed, if you say, this is what you can have without alcohol, they're going to remember it. And I think it's just it's all about empowering people with knowledge, and just giving options to everyone, because everyone deserves to have fun. Everyone deserves inclusivity.
Yeah.
As we get older, we feel worse from drinking too. And so it's nice to have an option for people that is easier to quit like that. You know, it's easier to accept that and feel accepted. So.
Chris, we're gonna.
Oh, I was just gonna just agree with what Laura was saying, that it's, up until 5 or 6 years ago, the idea of being anything other is very binary. You can either be sober and in recovery or not. And, I often think about how many people just fell between the cracks for hundreds of years because they didn't quite identify on either one of those things. And, when you talk about spectrum for the long, I mean, this is fairly new revelation for me, is like, when I think of spectrum, I think of like one end or the other, and that's not a spectrum. A spectrum is truly, because when you do that one end or the other, it gives value to one end or the other. It says that being in recovery or however you identify is valuable, or this other thing is valuable. And the truth is that anywhere on that spectrum, I'm trying to think of it more of a circle than a line, is valid. And that is what I've loved about my work as the owner of this bar space, is that I'm seeing people come in who identify as many things, and it's all okay, because in that moment we're all not drinking, and the question of why is really irrelevant, because it's just that we're focusing on the moment and each other and connecting to each other. I've just taken on so many different, or this concept has taken over, just my life in the best way possible. And it's taken on so many iterations. Not only do I have like the bar, but I'm also been doing these camping trips during the pandemic, where we're going out, we're camping, and we're connecting in nature. I'm doing virtual events. I mean, it's just, the idea is so much bigger than a box. It's so much bigger than labels. It's so much bigger than the ability to place value on one designation or the other.
Yeah.
All points are truly valid.
I love that about the two of you, that this is my jam, is like broadening perspectives on things, of like, we shouldn't be pigeonholing anybody, whether we're people that are in recovery or we're not. I feel like by you centering alcohol-free options and not saying this is explicitly, for people who are sober, gives the recovery community too, because I feel like we can sometimes be a little bit pigeonholy of like, this is what it's like, and add value or take value away from that. I think it's just so important that we're having this discussion, that I believe that giving people the option to be sober curious is a really great thing, right? It's just anything that goes towards some kind of improvement towards your health and wellness is amazing, whether or not you do it every day.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Ruby Warrington, by the way. I mean,
yes.
I mean, this, I don't think I would be here. I can't speak for Laura, but I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for the idea of sober curious being something that was culturally acceptable. And again, it's just the perfect storm of things happened in 2017. Like, I was coming up with Sans Bar, Seedlip had just come out, which was just a revelation. It really was groundbreaking. That it was, this company saying that these people, this market segment, is valuable enough for us to create this brilliant distillate and to package it in a beautiful way and to offer it to these consumers. I just think that was important. But then Ruby Warrington came along with Sober Curious, and
changer.
It changed the world forever. It definitely gave me a career. I'll say that.
Yeah. Also, Chris, what was the first media outlet to feature your story?
Chris has been pretty well covered out there.
I mean, I think
it's a trick question.
Oh,
I'm just like, New York Times, maybe?
No, a little more DIY.
Oh, yeah, Laura Silverman. No. Oh my God. You said, okay, you are
media outlet.
You are media, and you're fantastic. You know, you got the scoop, Laura Silverman.
The OG.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah,
OG.
yeah. Well, back in the day, I'll admit that, it still exists, and I would welcome anyone to check out the Sobriety Collective because it's still valid. It's still a hub of resources. There are still stories that are out there of different creatives all around the world. But that is kind of how Chris and I connected. And one of the things that I think is really kind of in line with Work It's mission as well. I wasn't feeling like I fit into the mold of 12 steps, and I don't have any sort of ill will towards them. I think it's a wonderful program, but it's just one of many. But I was finding that I just didn't fit in there, and I wanted to provide options for other people. So I kind of started this like alt recovery blog, and by doing that, I've met so many people all across the world that has then catapulted me further into wanting to explore like the non-alcoholic beverage scene. And honestly, my own understanding and my own definitions of sobriety and what it all means has morphed as well over the past like 5 or 6 years. And I think that's the beauty of being on this journey, is that it is a journey, and you get to change your mind, you get to learn, you get to grow. It doesn't have to be the same all the time, and it shouldn't be. Growth is really important.
Shouted out to Lori. I said, just so you know, I name dropped you.
Oh yeah.
Zero proof thing that I'm
Nice.
zooming at.
Very nice.
Just so you know, you might have some new connections inquiring soon. And I'm sure she'll say, oh, bring it. You'll like, when you just see her face and the way she presents herself, you'll be like, yeah, she's cool, But
so
yeah,
I'm conscious we've got 10 minutes left. I wonder if we could ask a couple questions and then see if anyone else has any they want to put forward in the chat box. And these come from Work It Health. I'm curious if there are like some hacks that you have, like 3 hacks, let's say, of how to up level a drink at home, like an everyday event for a friend who's having an alcohol-free drink.
Chris.
Oh, yes. Yes, please. Okay, so thing 1, you have to let go of the belief that you're going to fail. The idea of getting in the kitchen and having fun is what this should all be about. It really is about just playing, and just playing with flavors you've never thought of. If it's, lime, if it's, cinnamon, if it's allspice, if it's, no, asparagus would be awful. Don't do asparagus. But, but I mean, literally play with anything, play with these methods, play with, creating simple syrups. Fresh is always, that's my second point. Fresh is always best. Yes, I can go get some berry juice, but it's better to muddle berries. Yes, you can find a mint simple syrup in the store, but it's much better and easier and cheaper to make your own fresh ingredients. So experiment, have fun. Fresh is always best. And then 3, give yourself grace. If it doesn't turn out right the first time, much like anything in life, try and try again, but give yourself grace. You don't have to get it right. I've broken bottles. I've spilled things on, I've made a mess. I've done all these kind of wild things, and all of it's okay because it's in service to like a healthy version of myself, or if I'm serving other people, in service of like a healthy version of those people. So if that's my aim, is to really make people feel healthier, happier, more connected, and I don't get it right, that's okay, because I'm trying to create a real connection with people. And sometimes that's, in conversation, sometimes that's through a drink.
Thank you. Laura, do you have any hacks?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to expand on what is already greatness, Chris Marshall. But I would say to up level drinks, well, first of all, if you're being a host to a group of people, whether they drink or don't drink or both, have options for everyone. Now, if you happen to be sober, I don't think it's your responsibility to provide alcohol to people. But if you happen to be someone who drinks alcohol, in a way that works in your life, but has friends who don't drink or family that doesn't drink, make sure that you have options for people. Another thing that I think up levels a drink, and it's again up to people's personal preference, but non-alcoholic spirits. Yes, ENABs, equally attractive non-alc bevs. Yeah, non-alcoholic spirits really make for a grown-up drink, and it's a lot of trial and error. And it's also finding what you like. It's all about your taste and your palate, and some are great, and some are good, and some are bad, and that's okay. You can just figure out what works for you. I don't believe I've listed any bad ones on my directory, but like anything, there are going to be things that are flops, but there are a lot of like hero products out there that are amazing. And then I think kind of to piggyback off of Chris, it's just the fresh ingredients, like have fresh herbs. Make sure you have ice that has already been frozen if you don't have an ice maker, because ice is like crucial to making drinks. And I would suggest whether or not you want to support like a local little cook shop, or if you're going to feed the Amazon beast, and I do it too, getting yourself a little cheap little bar kit that has a shaker, that has a strainer, that has like a measuring thing. I think that's really going to help like level up your drinks too. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's about options. It's about having fun, and it's just about being able to enjoy a social situation and feel like you belong, which you do. Everyone does. We do.
Thank you. And I wanted to add, or ask rather, let's say someone's in early recovery, because we've all mentioned that, we were a few years long in recovery before we approached alcohol-free drinks. I just wonder, like, what are some parameters that people could put in place, or maybe some like considerations that we could suggest to people if they're approaching this and they might be a little bit anxious, they don't know if it's going to be triggering. What would you say to that?
I have an idea, and again, it could be like the flip side of a coin, because I think NA beer is always going to be better than beer that has alcohol for someone who wants an option. Again, same thing with NA wine. If they can have a glass of NA wine with dinner and not regular wine, that's huge. But there is trace alcohol, like 0.5% or lower in a lot of these drinks. And for some people that can be triggering, and maybe in the very beginning don't have any beverages that have trace alcohol. But I would also just say, and this is something that I've learned in my own edification throughout the years, is that bananas, fermented fruits, yogurts, like their bread, like foods that have trace amounts of alcohol as well, certain foods. And so the amount of alcohol you're going to have in a non-alcoholic beer is not going to be, it's not going to be anything to get you tipsy, but nor should it be. And the other thing that I will always remember someone telling me is that just know what your intention is. If your intention is to have like, a 24 pack of any beer because you want to feel like the effects of alcohol, and I'm not a healthcare professional, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express once, and it's like, know what your intention is. And if you're, again, trying to drink a case of non-alcoholic beer, or like like 2 huge bottles of non-alcoholic wine because you want to feel like a tinge of something, that's not what it's intended for. And that's something to maybe explore and get curious about, and talk to a counselor or something. But if you're just having it to enjoy with food, I think that that's completely fair. And again, at the end of the day, I will rest my case and say that it is personal preference, and it is up to you, and whatever you're comfortable with is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I agree. I say that, people come into Sands Bar all the time, and they have that same question, like, how should I approach this? And I tell everyone the same thing, that we're born with this innate sense of what is okay and what's not okay for us. And over time, we kind of, that sense is dulled, but it's always there. And I always ask people, like, when you see this drink on the menu, Like, do you get a feeling in your stomach like this isn't okay? And if that's the case for you, then pick something else. Like, I just believe in honoring that very important part of ourselves that just knows what's okay for us and what's not okay for us. And that can change. But I just love the way that Laura so succinctly said that it's all about your personal choice. And there's so many options to choose from, literally things that, anything that you want to do, on the drink side of things. There's things that you can make an old fashioned, or you can make something far, far removed from even reminding anyone of alcohol. Like this thing right here, it's a beautiful drink, but it's not something that you might see at a traditional bar, right? So it's a beautiful experience to explore.
Thank you. I think that's such a valid point. Like, nobody else can tell us what is going to be triggering, and I think that the nurturing of that inner instinct is so important in recovery, and we should try and honor that. Speaking of honor, I want to honor your time. Thank you. That has been so amazing. I'm going to be making both of those drinks this weekend. Maybe tomorrow.
And it's nice, you won't feel bad after you have a couple.
Yeah,
Feel good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say too. It's like, I think the nice thing is that a lot of us can't drink anymore because we just don't feel good. But now we can enjoy it and not feel the pain.
Have a full weekend, that's the awesome thing. It's like,
wake up
or
the next day,
honestly, you could day drink with these beverages. Not that I'm promoting certain patterns.
I'm just sans day drinking.
I did have I was trying out different recipes yesterday because I wanted to put something special together for everyone. And it was my 14-year, little anniversary. And I was like, well, I'm just going to have my drink in the middle of the day because I can, and why not? So I love the idea of these beverages kind of flipping everything on its head and just being able to have fun no matter when.
Trailblazers, both of you. Thank you. So we'll add all of your links to YouTube. Thank you so much for your time, and for everybody that's joined us. If we will follow up with the links to everything. So have a good evening, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you again, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.